I, 20, was fortunate enough to buy a house. For only being 15K, I have to say it's quite nice. It didn't really need much work besides a new roof and the cabinets needed replaced, but my dad is a carpenter, so that didn't really matter much. The previous owner was an older man who unfortunately passed away after living in the house since before I was even thought of. I finally got to move in 2 months ago. It's been fun making it my own, but it's taken some time to get used to living alone. 3 weeks after moving in, I was outside starting some work clearing out a few places to plant a garden and flowers in the spring. I live in the Midwest, so I wanted to get this done before the ground freezes. My next door neighbor, I'll call her Jane, 50s, came out and introduced herself. I explained that I just moved in and was preparing my yard for spring. She said it was nice that someone was doing some work for the old man and gave me a spiel about how it's a quiet neighborhood and I shouldn't have parties. I told her I don't throw parties, but was planning on hosting a housewarming and Thanksgiving soon. She said it's weird to throw a housewarming when I was renting. I told her I own the house. She didn't believe me but went home. Last week, I was out painting my front door. She stormed over yelling that I better have had permission to paint someone else's house. I again told her I own the home. She started yelling that I was too young to buy a house and she was contacting my landlord. I told her to stop being a busybody and leave me alone. She started demanding proof. I told her it was none of her business and to get off my property. She walked to the edge of her yard and called the police saying I was a squatter. When they showed up, I showed them my paperwork and asked to trespass her from my home. Jane is still angry. I was talking to my dad the next day asking what I should do. He said I was an idiot for making enemies with my neighbors and said I should have just showed her to put her mind to rest. I don't feel like I was in the wrong, but my dad thinks I was. Am I the idiot? Not the idiot. And even if you were renting, it would be perfectly acceptable to have a housewarming party upon moving in, and it's certainly none of her business what you're doing to the property. My landlady doesn't care if we paint our house, landscape, whatever, as long as we're not damaging the house. She's a saint, so it wouldn't be any of our neighbors' business. And your neighbor definitely sounds like the type that wouldn't believe you owned the house, no matter what proof she was shown. Not the idiot. I understand your dad's point, and in general yes, it's worth considering if something is worth a feud with a neighbor. But we're talking that maybe you smile and nod when they tell you how the old owner used to decorate at Christmas. Or get their mail when they are out of town because the old neighbor did. Even if you were renting, why assume that a time-consuming and property value increasing activity like painting was being done without permission? Honestly, if she thought you were a renter, the most logical assumption is that a young person is trading sweat equity for a break on rent so that the older guy doesn't have to do the work himself. I sort of get where your father is coming from because you've bought and now have to accept the financial pressure to deal with horrible neighbors. However, it's unreasonable to call you an idiot for not placating a busybody who chose not to believe you on the basis of your age. Yes, you technically could have been more diplomatic, but the same is true of her. She came stomping over at you screaming and even called the cops because you wouldn't provide her on-the-spot evidence. Hell, she'd probably have accused you of forging the documentation. So, with that said, it's perfectly reasonable to dig your heels in. So, background story. My husband's brother and his wife and their 2 girls are living with me in New Jersey after being evicted from their house in Florida in August. I live in a 1-bedroom apartment and they have been there, sleeping on my couch since August 2021. I am a nursing student and I like helping people, and I thought that for a couple of months, they would at least be trying to get back on their feet. They moved in August and now it's almost the end of October, and they are still not looking for jobs or applying for help anywhere. Essentially, they are crashing on my couch with their 2 daughters while me and my husband pay for everything. I am usually a very caring person, and if I see someone in need I like to help as much as I can, but at this point I feel like I am being taken advantage of. The thing that is making me upset the most is that they are trying to impose their rules in my house. I went from having a whole apartment for me and my husband and my dog to literally spending my whole time in my room. My house is a mess with all their stuff laying around. They even brought their cat that they know both me and my husband are allergic to and let the cat just go everywhere. My house is destroyed because of the cat scratching the couch and my computer chair, my curtains are ruined, and then they have the audacity to tell me I'm embarrassing when I bring friends over after a night out cause I was drunk and I was being loud. Then the next day they tell me that my little brother is dumb. Am I the idiot for telling my husband that if they do not leave by December 1st, then I'm the one leaving? Why do you have to be the one to leave your apartment? Is your husband the one who owns the apartment? Is it only his name on the deed or lease? If you own or have your name on the apartment lease, then I think you should say you will start legal proceedings and give them 30 days to move out. Right now you're your brother-in-law's life float. Once you evict him, he'll have a choice to either sink or swim. He'll swim. The real idiot in this story is your husband. He's supposed to have your back. He should have asserted boundaries and been a buffer between you and his family. I'm tempted to ask you to consider divorce proceedings, but I'll be level-headed and say go for marriage counseling. Not the idiot. They probably got evicted because they sat on their butts all day in Florida, just like they're doing in your apartment right now. They're overplaying the family card, but in marriage you became his family too. A destructive pet adds insult to injury. It's always nice to help, but not at the detriment of your own relationship and sanity. Top it off, they're non-contributing guests taking the liberty of commenting on how loud you are in your own space, and insulting your brother's intelligence is just too much bullcrap. Your husband needs to step up and stop letting himself and your kindness to be taken advantage of. December 1st is extremely generous. Start looking for a new place now instead of putting it off. Let your husband know that you're looking too, so that he realizes that you're at your limit. Your husband wants them to stay. When their original agreement on time was up, he could have stepped in. They are his relatives. Agree with others that your deadline for them to move or you will leave is a threat you need to follow through on. Have a feeling your husband will not like having the place to himself and them. Without you there, all the irritations will be on him. If it comes to that, be prepared to get a legal separation that protects you from debt your husband will accumulate supporting himself and another family. Me, 34, and my husband, 33, live in a 2-bedroom apartment. He started recently attending online therapy. Reasons? No reason in particular. No losing family member, no recent traumas or accidents. He just says he feels too overwhelmed with work. He works a demanding job, but I won't mention it because I don't want him to be judged for it. He wanted to let off some steam and attend therapy. I 100% encouraged him and said go for it. However, these therapy sessions have been happening for a period of 3 months. And he'd have 2 sessions in just one day. He says he found another therapist, which is illogical to me, but anyway. He'd stay in the bedroom for hours on end, preventing me from coming in. I'm talking 3 to 4 hours a day, and whenever I walk into the bedroom, which was only twice, the laptop gets slammed shut and my husband would just stare at me confused. I pointed out how rude it was to do this to his therapists, and he aggressively replied that what's really rude is the way I barge in while he's trying to have his therapy session. He told me if I walk in one more time he will take matters into his own hands. Yesterday I had an emergency and had to get inside the bedroom to get my pad pack, which I keep in my closet. I kept knocking but he didn't answer, so I walk in quietly, but he immediately shuts his laptop and looks enraged, then says, "Oh, so we doing this? Okay." Then he gets off his chair and starts lashing out, saying I'm struggling here and you don't even pretend to give a crap anymore. It's called privacy and you should respect that. Now get out. I get out and he locks the door. I was fuming at this point, but managed to get my pad before he kicked me out. Out of respect I waited till his session was over and started arguing with him about how utterly bad it was of him to lock me out of the room that's supposed to be a shared space between us. He said he had to lock me out because of my barging and snooping and continuous disrespect of his privacy. I straight up said he needed to start having his therapy session somewhere else since it's not okay for him to keep the bedroom busy for 4 hours. That's just too much. He said I could go in and take whatever I need before he locks the door, but I won't take all my stuff out. That is not logical to me. I told him he could take his laptop and really go anywhere else, whether in the apartment, coffee shop, car or even the parking lot. He shamed me and said this is his apartment too, and that I was being negative and disrespectful instead of supportive and understanding of his situation. We've been arguing about it for hours till now. Now I'm leaving this to you. Am I wrong for asking him that? It's unreasonable that a grown adult not in extreme crisis needs that much therapy time. Especially if he's not shared the nature of the crisis with his wife. Not the idiot. If therapy regularly takes more than 1 hour, he should do therapy in the other bedroom. If that is currently being used as an office, then a schedule and a way to contact him should you need something from the office should be discussed. Also, the closing the laptop is a huge red flag. He could simply state, "Just a moment, my wife walked in," and pause the therapy. Closing the laptop makes me suspicious that this is real therapy and not something else. Therapist here. It is absolutely not normal to have 3-4 hours of session a day. No therapist would allow that. You need time to process what you talked about, time to think, time to prepare for a next session, time to not think about anything between sessions. A normal rate would be 1 hour each week. I see 3 possibilities. He either is getting ripped off by someone, he is in some kind of group sessions, where he has to be online several hours a day, which normally is only for people on the brink of a residential admission, or he is lying to you and doing something else on the computer. Either way, how is he affording this? One session could cost between €50–100 an hour. I would advise you to talk to him. What is he doing all these hours? Is there maybe a part of it he can do outside of the bedroom? I suspect there is more to this than meets the eye. This isn't therapy. Therapy lasts for 50 minutes or so usually at a time. It can be exhausting for both parties. And while it's important to be supportive, no therapist would require him to keep you essentially out of your home in this way. I take it he's law enforcement. Absolutely support therapy. But not at this cost. Who pays for the therapy? Can you discreetly check to see what's going on? Though to be honest, the threats, the explosions, I'm more worried about if you feel safe and whether you guys should be together right now while you are going through this. I'm 21 years old, my fiancé is 22 and has terminal cancer. We'd been together for almost 3 years by the time he was told his cancer was terminal, and we decided we wanted to spend our remaining time together as husband and wife. When I told my mom, she strongly discouraged me from getting married to him. She said there's no point in getting married to someone who's just going to die soon after. She was saying things like, "Do you really want to be a 21-year-old widow? And what will those wedding photos even look like? Do you want wedding photos where you're standing next to a groom who looks all sick?" I was really disgusted by how cruel she was being about my fiancé and his illness. I decided she wouldn't be invited to my wedding unless she genuinely apologized. When she finally did apologize, it wasn't genuine. It was like, "Well, I'm sorry, I just wanted to share my concerns, and it's just my opinion. I'm allowed to have an opinion, aren't I?" She says it's horrible to not invite my own mom to my wedding just for sharing an opinion. She keeps trying to defend what she said and getting mad. I don't consider it enough of an apology to let her come to the wedding. My dad and sister are also pretty mad at me, and they think I should just let it go just enough to let her come to the wedding and have a conversation about it later. Am I the idiot? Not the idiot. My sweetheart passed away 2 months ago. He died, at age 35, from complications following the kidney transplant that was supposed to save his life. He was chronically ill. I don't regret being with him or being where I am now. Being a widow, we weren't married, but wanted to be, at 25. I do regret considering what other people thought when they said the same things. I regret worrying about other people's judgments. Don't live in regret. Live with what makes you happy right now. Not the idiot. I'm so sorry you and your fiancé are facing his passing at such a young age. Your mother was deeply cruel in her response to your engagement news. If you would prefer your fiancé was happy and respected on your big day, instead of getting negative comments and vibes from your mother miserably lurking in the background, then it is 100% okay to not invite her. Do what is best for you both. My congratulations on your upcoming nuptials, and my condolences about his cancer. Not the idiot. My dad had terminal cancer. He and my mom got married, and a month later, he died. In the pictures he is very thin, but you wouldn't be able to tell he was sick at all, and he has the biggest smile on his face, because I imagine that was the happiest day of his life. Enjoy your wedding, and enjoy the days that are given to you, because they are very precious. I'm so sorry you're having to deal with a monster of a mother, but don't let her ruin what is supposed to be the happiest day of your life. I've been living in a large apartment building for the past 10 years. This apartment building has 2 levels of big underground garages. There's one gate to the garage area, and then each apartment's garage has its own individual gate as well. For 12 years, I've worked in this town that's half an hour away from where I live. Therefore, I've always left with the car early in the morning and then came back in the evening. For simplicity, I've always left the gate up while I'm gone as I don't keep anything else in the garage, and doing that saves me time when I get back, not having to get out of the car and open the gate. Over the years, I've noticed that some neighbors park in my garage when they're unloading stuff from their trunks, like groceries, as my garage is the closest to the door that leads to the elevators. It never bothered me, as I only saw it happen at the end of the day or during the weekends when I'm never in a rush, and people usually tried to rush and get their cars out of the garage when they saw me turn the corner. However, last month, my company opened a branch in my town and I've started working mornings in the other town and afternoons in my town. I only have a 1-hour lunch break, which means that I have to take the half-hour commute, park the car at home, as there's no free parking near the office, eat lunch, and walk to work, 10-minute walk, all in less than 1 hour. With time being so tight, finding someone parked in my garage sometimes gets me late, as the 5 minutes it might take them to finish unloading, move the car, and then do the Tetris of getting their car past mine in the tight common areas of the garage takes a toll. Therefore, I started closing the gate every morning. Just a few days after I did this for the first time, a group of neighbors came to my apartment in the evening asking if I'd changed my routine because they saw my garage gate closed. I told them I had changed jobs and now had the car in the garage most of the day. They said they knew it wasn't all day because they see me leave and asked if I could leave the gate open at least when I wasn't home, as parking the car in front of the door blocks the passage even more and causes traffic, and some of them have garages really far from the door, making it hard to bring heavy stuff from their cars into the building. I explained the situation, but they started saying I was being really selfish because I'd always been okay with it and no one ever abandoned their cars there, they just parked there for a couple of minutes to unload their trunks and always got their cars out as soon as they saw me arrive. Which is true, but with time being so tight on my lunch break, it's enough to make a difference. I tried explaining this, but they're relentless about how I'm being selfish and not sharing the privilege of having the best garage. I'm now feeling a little bad, as I would hate to have one of the garages that's really far from the door too. So, am I the idiot? Not the idiot. It's your space you pay for, and you are leaving the gate open for your convenience, not anyone else's. Your schedule and needs have changed, and that has nothing to do with anyone else. It's not like you're closing the gate to spite your neighbors, and what you're doing isn't selfish. If you moved and someone else moved in, there's no guarantee the new neighbor would allow everyone to use the garage to unload. They can get foldable wagons or figure out another way to unload their stuff inside. Your garage, you don't have to share. But if you are feeling bad and want to share, which is 100% not required, if your lunch is the same time every day, just say no parking after start of lunch break. Tell the neighbors, put up a sign, and see if it works. The first time someone is parked there, when you need it, start relocking the gate and tell them that's the plan. You don't care if people park there when you don't need it and want to be nice, that's clear from your post, but you cannot have them there on your lunch. Not the idiot. The neighbors can find another way to get their stuff done. It's not on you to be inconvenienced to make their lives easier. As far as your lunch break routine, there's no reason to rush yourself and take away your personal time to appease the company. Either make the commute and then take your lunch or the other way around. I work construction and sometimes have to go to multiple job sites in a day. The commute between each site is all paid time.